Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Wednesday! Welcome to Game Day Live, presented by the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network and the Primetime Radio Studios, along with Crew Brew. Welcome to all fans watching on YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever it is you get our podcast. And tonight, the New Jersey Devils take on the Boston Bruins. It's a big day in New Jersey Devils history, New Jersey Devils lore, as they will add Jacques Lemaire to the Ring of Honor, the former New Jersey Devils head coach that was a Stanley Cup champion. And we're also going to get the quarter-century teams announced here in a few minutes, too, so that's very excited for the New Jersey Devils and new fans of New Jersey Devils history. Shorts guy. I forgot to say my name is Vinnie, Parise, and I'm here with my good friend Shorts Guy. Nobody cares about us on a day like today when we're honoring old friends. The Stanley Cup is in the building. I mean, it's just a great day to celebrate the New Jersey Devils and our favorite team. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Vinny. Doing good. A little bummed I chose to not go tonight because I had a very long day yesterday. It just wouldn't have worked out. But this would be something really cool to be at. Jacques Lemaire is a big piece to my childhood because he won the Devils the Cup. You know, he coached us to the Cup victory. That's why I got my 95 hat on. I know Brooke Amanda's going to give me some crap when she finally shows up into the chat because, well, I still have my 1995 Devils championship hat. She finds that kind of dumb, but that's just not because she hates the hat, because the hat's almost 30 years old now.
I've never been more dumbfounded by someone thinking something's dumb. What's a Brooke Amanda thinking? Like I would probably pay $100 for that hat.
Just because I fell down to it for so long. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Not only right, it's even got. I got to take the hat off for a second to show you in the camera. It's still got the little hologram sticker on the inside from the 95 Cup final, which is tough to see.
I love that.
But yeah, I know. So do I.
That's insanity. I love it. I'm happy you have that. I want one. But yeah, the New Jersey Devils, the 1995 Stanley Cup champions, Jacques Lemaire was a big part of this team's history in taking them from a Mickey Mouse organization and turning them into the franchise that they are today with 3 Stanley Cup banners hanging at the Prudential Center. It's pretty exciting stuff here as they host the Boston Bruins. It's going to be based on the fact that they're adding Jacques Lemaire to the Ring of Honor, joining Dr. John McMullen, who brought the New Jersey Devils to New Jersey, obviously, the founder of the team, if you will. And then, of course, Sergei Brylin, who was added last year, a multiple Stanley Cup champion as well. Adding Jacques Lemaire, that's big, and you'll get the 25-year mark, the quarter-century team. It's a little bit of celebrating the past and the present tonight, and that's all we ever love to do here in New Jersey Devils land.
Yeah, no, I totally agreed. It's going to be a fun night. It's definitely, well deserved for Jacques Lemaire. As you said, he brought this from the Mickey Mouse organization. They turned the corner in '88. They needed someone to bring them over that hump and to win us the Cup in '95, which was much unexpected. Plus he, not for nothing, like, let's think of the roster that Jacques Lemaire got coming here as a coach. Like, he had Scott Stevens, Ken Danico, Scott Niedermayer, 3 of the big defensemen there. He had the crash line there. And he had Mark Tambro-Dewar in net. He had, he had John McClain still there. I'm trying to think of the roster and go through it in my head. And, but that roster was just an unassuming roster that was great on defense, and his style, Jacques Lemaire's coaching style, and the style of play for the Devils, I just remember in the 90s just being like, oh, your team's so boring to watch. Your team's so boring to watch. Well, guess what? We won a Stanley Cup. That's not so boring now, is it? So
yeah, and they put together an organization that they won one in '95, and then that set a precedent. They won one again in 2000. They made it to the Stanley Cup final in 2001. They won it a third time in 9 years in 2003. You could take it all the way through the entire 2000s and, kind of the shell of those old teams, or at least the mantra of those old teams, and getting back to the final in 2012. And then they go through a little bit of a rough spell and they win the lottery in 2017, and things start to trend upward from there. But a lot of the history of this team, the fabric of this organization, comes from when Jacques Lemaire was the head coach. He helped get them over the edge from being a good team that's finally starting to make playoffs to a great team that's starting to win Stanley Cups. You look back on those days, if you're today's management, if you're Tom Fitzgerald, if you're Sheldon Keefe, if you're Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, you look back at the foundation that Jacques Lemaire laid when he came in, and you try to replicate that. And I'm not saying you have to, be this trap team that they were. Every team in the league plays a trap. Nobody wants the other team to freely go through the neutral zone.
Yeah.
I always thought that was the dumbest thing of all time. And like, what team is allowing the other team to just freely walk through the neutral zone? All 32 teams in the league play a trap in some way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of, there's a lot more offense these days. I think goaltenders are also significantly worse than they were in the 90s and early 2000s. But it is what it is. It's very fun to celebrate. Okay, maybe they're not worse, but I think there's more skill in the league. Like, save percentage is down again. And I think maybe goalies are tactically better and they're smarter and bigger and better skaters and better puck handlers. But I think the league is balanced out a little bit again, and the scorers are doing their thing. But, it's an interesting topic.
It is, yeah, and that's something that we could discuss on another podcast, another day about goaltending and shooters and stuff like that. But Jacques Lemaire had one of the best in net for him, and he had and let's not forget he had a really good backup and someone to help teach Brodeur with Chris Terreri. That was a great goaltending duo, and it's just he did really well. I mean, Jacques Lemaire won us the cup, and that goes like. That made us a legitimate franchise. We were the little brother to, the blue team across the river, the other fish sticks across the island. And then, winning the Stanley Cup, really changes things. But it was a roller coaster ride because we were still rumored to be moving to Nashville, of all places. Just as we win, like we hit the pinnacle, and we're like, oh, everyone's going to move. We're going to move. But I'm just glad that they're able to, in some way, shape, or form, honor him. And this just shows me that at some point they will absolutely be posthumously also adding Pat Quinn to Pat Burns. Sorry, I don't want Pat Quinn. Pat Burns to this Ring of Honor as well, because he was phenomenal for us as well. But let's focus on Jacques tonight. So I don't screw up any more names.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're also going to announce the quarter century teams. I wrote an article for pucksandpitchforks.com kind of predicting what they're going to be. And I don't think I completely nailed it. I think there will probably be something in there that, we didn't think of or got, voting one a little differently. I had then they're going to do the first team and the second team. For the first team, I had Patrick Elias, Jack Hughes, and Zach Parise. And on defense, I had Scott Stevens and Scott Niedermayer. And then Martin Brodeur is the goalie. That's the biggest duh of all time. But then the second team, I put Nico Hischier, Taylor Hall, and who did I put as the third forward? Travis Zajac. And then on defense, I put Danico, Rafalski, and then in goal, I put Corey Schneider. I think Corey Schneider is the second best goalie in Devils history. So there's a lot of compelling arguments, a lot of different ways, though. I didn't put Ilya Kovalchuk. I didn't put Adam Henrique, Scott Gomez, Jamie Langenbrunner. On defense, Andy Green got a lot of comments on this post. People thinking he deserves to be on the second team. There's a lot of arguments either way. Like, I know Danico only played 4 seasons in this millennium, but in those 4 seasons, they won the Stanley Cup twice. He won the Masterton Trophy, and he retired a Devils legend. I think there is a sense of, it's not all about production. Like, it's about production, but like when you think of the second team, like I got Danico in there. That's just how my brain worked and where I put it. And then Rafalski was just so sweet.
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely got to put Rafalski in there. I'm trying to think. My mind just goes to Devils goaltending. Oh, man, I don't know.
I was wondering if you disagree with me on Schneider. But like who since 2000 would be ahead of him? Because you got Kincaid, who like helped lead them to the playoffs and had a bunch of shutouts, but like you're not going to put Kincaid. You have Kevin Weeks, who was a backup. There's a lot of backups. Clemenson.
Yeah, there's a lot of backups.
It's mostly
They
just
only had
backups
one.
to Marty, and then Schneider.
Yeah,
And then you're not going to put V.
yeah.
I don't think you're going to put Vitek Vanacek.
No, I mean he qualifies unless you throw Markstrom in there.
See, I don't think Markstrom does. Maybe Markstrom does count, but only like 3 months of them. And Markstrom was Calgary's second team goalie.
Okay.
So he's widely considered a top goalie in his era, but I don't think he has enough time. Corey Schneider, for the better part of 4 years, was a top 5 goalie in the NHL.
He was, and you're making a compelling argument, and there really isn't other, because that's been our problem since really 2012, 13. When Marty was no longer our starter, and we went through that slew of backups. Everyone from Scott Clemenson to, like you said, Kincaid. I feel like we saw a new goalie, and then there was, the one season where we had 7 goalies, and none of them were me.
Nope, none of them were you. None of them were good either.
Yeah, I know none of them were good either.
Mackenzie Blackwood, I guess, people hate Blackwood, but I never hated Blackwood. I never hated him, and you could find podcasts.
No, I never
from me
did either.
from 3 years ago. He always was hurt. Like when he played, he was awesome. Team Canada heavily considered him for the Olympics in 2022, and then COVID shut down NHL players going to the Olympics. But he was on their radar to be on the team. Canada's goaltending is not that deep. If Blackwood would have been healthy at the start of this year, he probably makes Team Canada for 4 Nations as a member of the Sharks / Avalanche. But the goaltending, that second goalie, I can't wait to see who they pick.
Yeah, I know. I'll be serious. I'm excited to see what it is. It's going to be fun to pick through, and I'm sure we can debate it, and it'll be something that we can talk about. Who didn't make it, just as much as we'll talk about who did make it.
Yeah.
So survey says Chris Terreri, but Chris Terreri was a Shark come 98 or 99, I believe. He hasn't played.
Yeah, there are a lot of people.
I mean,
no disrespect. No disrespect to anyone, but there are a lot of people that just don't understand this list. Like, I got people screaming at me that I didn't put John McClain. John McClain played 0 days in the 2000s. He's just not. He's not on this. He's not eligible for this list. Terreri played 1 season in the millennium, and he was traded to the Islanders halfway through. And went 2-5-1 with a .874 save percentage in that 1 year. So yeah, Terreri's not the guy for this list. If it was a 2000s Devils list, he's probably second. Or if it's a 1990s Devils list, he's probably second behind Brodeur. Yeah, he's second behind Brodeur for sure.
I don't know. 90s, you might put Sean Burke there.
Possibly. See, it's a compelling debate, but no chance for the 2000s.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out when it's announced, and we'll talk about it. And I hope everyone who's there tonight at the Rock is starting to file into the building so that they can catch the ceremony, because it's after watching I was watching the Breland one from home last year? I think it was against the Dallas Stars. And
it was last year.
They do well. And the Devils were posting some stuff today on social media about Lemaire was watching practice. He was shaking hands with Jack Hughes. He was shaking hands with Fitzy. So they're pretty much giving him free reign of the place. A place he used to coach, which the reason why I have Twitter is because of Jacques Lemaire. That the last season he coached the Devils, and the announcement, if the decision he was going to make, if he was going to stay or go, that's why I got Twitter, so I would be able to figure it out and hear it first, because we were leaving the building and they were doing the presser downstairs. So this is before press conferences were streamed live on any kind of social media. So we had to wait for the presser and someone to tweet it out, which feels like forever and a half ago, but it was not.
Yeah, it's really not. And so Shorts Guy and I, we're going to make sure that we're done with the show before the ceremony starts so that everybody can get out and watch it.
Yes.
which means I want you to start throwing your predictions in the chat right now, so I'm ready to start firing them off. But Shorts Guy, there is a hockey game today too. The New Jersey Devils play the Boston Bruins. It's not the days of Patrice Bergeron, Zdeno Chara, and Tuukka Rask anymore. They still have Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, and Charlie Coyle. Well, they do have Charlie Coyle, but I meant to say Charlie McAvoy as part of their core. And it's a really good team. It's not the elite record-breaking Bruins anymore, but it's a team that could certainly present a challenge to the Devils if they don't play their game. And the Devils put their lines in a blender for this game. And
they did.
Andre Palat is out with illness.
Yes. Yeah. No. I saw those lines this morning. They did put them in a blender. They really, apparently too, middle of practice, Keefe just shut it all down and brought them all in and just laid into him. Which from the accounts that I heard, I don't know if there's any video of it, but from the accounts that I heard, he let them know his displeasure. So they must have been dogging it in practice a little bit today for him to stop it. But I like seeing that. Keefe is showing that he's a strong personality that's willing to do that. I don't know if Lindy Ruff would have done that at all last year. So I'm really happy to see that that's happening, and that the Devils are hopefully going to get the message. And I also know tonight is a Parise brother derby between you and your brother. This is a big moment in the Parise family tonight.
Yes, it really, really is. It's always fun when they play each other, and they get the best. He's gotten the best of me mostly in our adult life. When we were younger, I had a lot more fun with it. I remember there was a game where Kovalchuk, he really got under Jack Edwards' skin because we would rotate which broadcast we watched, but whoever was the home team. And there was a game in Boston where Kovalchuk just owned them, and Jack Edwards just was furious about hilarious. But yeah, we have a lot of good battles. Today will be nothing short of that. I hope the Devils' speed are kind of able to get on track today against the Bruins, because I think the Bruins have a tough time with speedy teams sometimes. Zadorov has had up and down moments this year. They have Elias Lindholm now too as their top line center. It'll be interesting to see how they match up against each other. Is Elias Lindholm out?
So this comes from our good friend Max. Lindholm, McAvoy, Kastelik, and Frederick are not playing due to illness.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I feel like there's a bug.
I feel like there's a bug going around. And I can tell you from experience from work, there is illness going around pretty rampant out, just in general. So it seems like, and I've heard people speculate too about the way the Devils have played recently, that there might be some illness going around, the Devils as well, which could account for some of their lethargic play as of recent. But that's a big for Boston to be losing tonight. We have Pally out. Hopefully he's not. Hopefully he's not going to give it to the rest of the team, but we'll see.
The rest of the team has apparently had it already. That's the crazy thing. And if we get to February and this team just starts to look like they did in December, I see a lot of people going back to Thanksgiving with their record. Oh, they're so-and-so since Thanksgiving. Yeah, but what were they between Thanksgiving and Christmas? You're going back to Thanksgiving, if you include everything in January, then yeah, their record since Thanksgiving kind of stinks. But if you go from Thanksgiving to New Year's Day, it's a great record. So you're just adding in all the crap that we've seen since January started. Of course the record since Thanksgiving is going to be terrible because they were good from Thanksgiving to Christmas and then terrible from Christmas to now. So I have no idea why that's a thing for people. It just makes no sense to me. But if we get to February and this team just starts to rattle off wins like they were earlier in the season before the calendar flipped to 2025, there might be a little something to that whole thing going on in the league right now where everybody seems to be sick all the time. I don't get it. If that's going on, then man, it's a good thing because that means the team doesn't actually stink and we don't have to be scared about anything. But man, what's some points left on the table? Although people freaked out about this last weekend, and I did too. I was mad, but it did end a streak. They were getting points in 5 straight games before that. Like they could. I saw the graphic of the top 5 teams in the league, and the Devils are only off of it by 3 points, and you could be 1 point off of it if you beat the Bruins tonight. Like, yeah, they're in an okay spot,
Mm-hmm.
I think, still.
Yeah, and I think they're in an okay spot too, and I think they'll come through this. I historically, and I tried going through their schedules of past, um, and I don't know if there's really anything officially to it, but the Devils always seem to go into this slide in like January, February. It seems to be historically. Even my mom, who is a Devils fan, but not like you or I or like Sam or like everyone else in the group chat, kind of like a passive fan, but she watches the podcast. She doesn't watch the Devils as close as we do, but she's potentially watching Game Day Live. So hi, Mom, if you're watching. Even she notes the fact that the Devils always go through this slide. I want to say she mentioned to me like a week or two ago. The Devils just seem to be doing this like they always do. And like I said, she's a fan. She watches. She doesn't watch as close as you and I. But even my mom notices that there's a trend that just kind of happens for some reason around this time of year. They just take a step back. So and you said start rattling some wins off in February. We only have 6 games in February. I want to rattle those. Sure. I want to start really, really rattling off some wins come March and April, and then rattle off the wins all the way through June.
Couldn't agree more. It's about who gets hot. Florida Panthers fought tooth and nail just to get into the playoffs 2 years ago, and then they went all the way to the Stanley Cup final, lost to Vegas, came back the following year where a juggernaut ended up winning the Stanley Cup. Caitlin says Bruins don't stand a chance. We're not counting giveaways because there's not going to be a lot of giveaways tonight.
Better not.
And as Max points out, and I saw this on Twitter. Go ahead.
Shroom Goom just says shorts, Mom. So my mom would appreciate that. Thank you, Shroom.
I almost said it, but you were talking and I didn't want to interrupt you. But yeah, shorts, Mom. I love that. And then Shroom Goom also wants to know if I had Travis Zajac on my team. I did. He was on my second team.
Yeah.
And I do think he will be on the side. There are a couple locks. I won't be shocked. I put Zach Parise on the first team. I am very biased. I think he deserves it.
I love Zach Parise.
But if he wasn't on either, I wouldn't be that surprised. But I think Travis Zajac being on one of the two is a lock. I think Niedermeyer and Stevens being on one of the two is a lock, and Brodeur is a lock. I would be shocked if they left off Jack Hughes. I think it's possible, but I would be pretty surprised if they didn't put him on, because I do think they try to include, make it where the young kids can look at this graphic and appreciate it too. So, and I know Jack Hughes is wildly popular with the younger generation, so wouldn't shock me at all. Oh, Bratt is a person that wouldn't shock me if they put him on. I didn't put him, but I think he'll deserve it. When we do this again in 25 years and do the half-century team, if Bratt, Heischer, and Hughes aren't on it, we didn't reach the potential that we thought we would.
In 8 years, the Devils can do a 50-year team, like an all-time 50-year team.
Yes, that's right.
I think
I'm excited for that.
What we should be looking at. Well, yeah, it's.
I think in that 50-year season,
I and the Devils will be celebrating year number 50, and by that point, I'll have my Devils 1982 tattoo ready to go, which that'll probably be sooner rather than later. But yeah, we can do it in 8 years. We'll do a half-century team for the Devils.
Absolutely, and I think I'll need to spend a week in New Jersey, maybe more, for that season. I'll be in town. Like I firmly plan on coming once a season at minimum for the rest of my life. This year's a little different because of some things going on in my life, some milestones. But every year from next year forward, I firmly plan on being there at least once a season. So, it's a passion of mine. I love being there, and I can't wait for all the things ahead. And hey, in a couple years, if we get to make a 50-year team, that'd be pretty sweet. I'm looking for people to put their predictions in the chat right now. Let's get it going. I saw a couple earlier. If you want to throw it in again, please do. But I'll try to read from the top, and I'll try my best not to skip any. I'm very dumb. Sometimes when I look at this, I accidentally skip one, and I don't mean to. So put it in the chat if I didn't say it. Shorts guy, what do you think is going to happen in today's game between the New Jersey Devils and the Boston Bruins?
I'm honestly torn, because I know what this team does when they have a big ceremony like this. I know the history of big ceremony games, and it's not good. But I do know that Sheldon Keefe probably knowing. I have to assume that someone has clued him in to be like, hey, ceremony days are not good. Sheldon Keefe basically losing his mind on the team, putting the lines in a blender, which let's not forget, we could just put the lines back to the way they were. But Pally is out tonight, so long story short, I am going to go Devils victory for Jacques Lemaire, and I'm going to pull an unrealistic Sam Wu score in honor of Jacques Lemaire. The Devils win 9-5.
9-5. I think Jacques Lemaire will have a stroke if the game actually ends up like that, because Sam Wu's prediction that he gave us actually fits what Jacques Lemaire would actually want in a New Jersey Devils victory. 1-0 in overtime. A team historically built on goaltending and defense goes out there and wins 1-0.
The left wing lock.
Let's go, Devils. Okay, so going back to the chat for some of these, I'm going to try to rifle them off really quick because we got a ceremony in 3 minutes. Joseph says 4-3 Devils.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Joseph says 4-3 Devils. Brian says 3-0 Devils. Eddie says love your list, Vinnie. Thank you very much. Hopefully I'm mostly right so I don't get ripped on Twitter. Steve Engel says 3-2 somebody, so that means Devils. Exactly. I'm a complete idiot according to everyone. Brooke Amanda says 4-3 Devils. Eddie says 3-2 Devils. Scrolling down a little bit.
Scrolling down too.
Caitlin says 3-2 Devils. Shroom Goon. I love that name, Shroom Goon. 4-2 or 5-2 Devils. Luke Hughes 2 goals. Love that. Nick, not reading yours. Max says 5-2 Devils. Jay Snow says not reading that one. Jay Snow says 9 goals. Put the pipe down. Hey, anything's possible here. Select the Boy says 4-3 Devils, and me personally, I think the New Jersey Devils are going to beat the Boston Bruins 3-1. 3-1 nice. Devils. Pasternak gets one for the Bruins, but Jack Hughes and the boys get a couple goals from the Top Guns. Cotter gets one today, playing with Hughes. That's my prediction. Jacques Lemaire probably, if Cotter played in 1994, Jacques Lemaire would love Cotter. I just have this feeling he'd love some Paul Cotter. Big bodies, can provide some offense here and there. Who's a Devil real quick that played for Lemaire that might remind you of Cotter a little bit? Maybe Randy McKay, something like that. One of those guys on the crash line.
The crash line player, absolutely. Yeah, Randy McKay. Someone that can score, someone that's tough. Randy McKay was more of a scorer, and then he became that checking line guy. Mm-hmm. That would be my thought. Would be a Paul Cotter, not as prolific as a scorer, but definitely Randy McKay would be up there.
Absolutely. Caitlin wants to know if Swayman is in goal. He is. He gave up 5 in his last start. So the Devils would love to make sure that he continues to give up tons of goals. He was really bad to start the season. He had the whole contract thing. Yeah. Then got really hot December, early January. And the last couple games been struggling a little bit. So we'll see if Swayman is good. It will be Jacob Markstrom in the net opposite of him. We hope everybody enjoys the big ceremony from the New Jersey Devils honoring Jacques Lemaire, putting him into the Ring of Honor. Hopefully plenty of people are there in attendance. I'm sure we'll see Martin Brodeur. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw Patrick Galliosh. Maybe Zach Parise will be in the building. Who knows? I hope everybody enjoyed the show.
Niedermayer's there.
Niedermayer is there. Saw that. Hopefully everybody's in attendance. Hopefully everybody enjoys celebrating our favorite team, the New Jersey Devils. For Sam Wu, for Short Sky, my name is Vinnie Parise, and as always, let's go Devils. Shout out Short's mom.